Hi, everybody, and welcome to L Said What. Hi, Simon. Thanks for stopping by. And what I wanted to talk about in this live stream, what I wanted to talk about is Richard Allen, a defendant who's being held in a maximum security part of a prison. And this is a high security prison in Indiana. Richard Allen has been accused of a crime. He's not in prison currently serving time for a crime. He's not been convicted of a crime. And in the United States, when someone is awaiting trial and they cannot make bond, they are customarily held in the county jail because the county jail is an interim place. Meanwhile, hi, Mrs. Murph. Thanks for joining us. And I'm going to talk to the legend because the legend has survived being on the inside. He knows what the conditions are like in maximum security in a state prison. And so he's going to join me today because Richard Allen's defense attorneys are claiming that the conditions that Allen is being kept under are akin to a prisoner of war. And if you're wondering, if you're wondering what's the difference between being held at the county jail and being held in a prison, right? Well, just being held in a penitentiary, you're already there with people who have been found guilty or who have pled guilty. There's no innocence in question, so to speak. We know that wrongful convictions happen. How's the sound? I decided to hook up the microphone. How's the sound, Mrs. Murph? So I think there's a way here that I can invite a guest. Okay. And that's just me copying the link. Well, what I wanted, thanks guys. Thanks, Simon. What I wanted to talk about is when someone is a high profile inmate, they're segregated. Even if they're in the county jail, they're segregated just for the fact that they're high profile. So Richard Allen is not accused of being a career criminal. So if you can imagine your own self being arrested and being arrested for the ultimate crime, murder, homicide in the first, he's charged with 2 counts of felony murder. Indiana is a death penalty state, by the way. So at some point, or even now, you don't know if Richard Allen is still worried that the death penalty will come into play, right? But the difference is Richard Allen's attorneys submitted a motion for transfer, and Richard Allen's attorneys want him transferred to a county jail. Now, this is not Rozzi. This is not his original attorneys. For just a minute, a few weeks, a couple of months, right? Baldwin and Rozzi were off of Richard Allen's case. The Indiana Supreme Court reinstated Baldwin and Rozzi. But in the interim, Robert, I believe his last name is pronounced Screamin, and William Labraro. They were his attorneys, and they submitted a motion to transfer Richard Allen out of Wabash Correctional Facility, the high security prison that he's in. And the attorney said the county prison is streamlined, for instance, for attorney visits. Richard Allen right now is over 200 miles from his attorneys. That's a 3.5 hour drive. Hi, Joe. According to the attorneys, right, there is no privacy when they're trying to talk to their client. Defense attorneys, criminal defense attorneys will tell you that often there is no privacy when they try and consult with their clients. So not only when these attorneys went to visit their client did they have a 3.5 hour drive, but there was a delay that ultimately cost them 10 hours. 10 hours to go and consult with their client. So according to the attorney's motion for transfer, the streamlined process at the jail, there's a large plexiglass that Richard Allen could sit across from them, and they can show him documents, they can show him exhibits. That's him being able to participate in his own defense. Attorneys right now have to put in a special request to take their cell phones, their laptops into a prison. That wouldn't be the case in a county jail. So the motion to transfer Richard Allen to a county jail says Adams County, Indiana, or Allen County, Indiana would be a lot closer, and that it's not only the conditions that Allen is being subjected to in the prison, but it also prevents them being effective counsel. And that's a constitutional right, the right to effective counsel. Being able to participate in your own defense is a part of having an effective and vigorous defense. So they're bringing up constitutional rights. How you doing, legend? I've dropped the link a bunch of times, and all of a sudden now it's gotten complicated. But I'll tell you this, when I asked the legend if he'd ever run across a defendant in the penitentiary, accused of a crime, but not convicted of a crime, but awaiting trial in the penitentiary, he said no. And he was shocked to hear that Richard Allen was not only in a prison, but in a high security prison, and he's in maximum security. And I wanted to know the difference between maximum security and the county for an inmate. What is it that Richard Allen's attorneys are saying that he's going through? So I see where I can copy the link, but I don't see where I can drop the link. So these conditions, according to the attorneys, everybody still there? According to the attorneys, when they went to and saw their client at Wabash Correctional Facility, he looked like Hannibal Lecter. They said that Richard Allen was shambled and chained, and that he couldn't get comfortable during the entire visit. And that, they said, also impedes their ability to communicate with their client, to give an effective defense. Not only that, but Richard Allen was moved from Westville Correctional Penitentiary to Wabash Correctional. Okay. He was in Westville for years. Then he was moved to Wabash Correctional December 6, 2023. Hold on. Let me post the comment. Copy the link. Okay. So I want to go over a little bit of the transfer. I want to go over a little bit of what Richard Allen's attorneys claim that they need a transfer for, because according to them, there are Odinist guards. Copy the link, hit control, put it in the box, and hit control V. So according to them, there are Odinist guards even at Wabash prison. And the attorneys went as far as to look at these guards' Facebook pages. And the guards at the guard at Wabash prison, according to the attorneys, has a face tattoo. And that face tattoo is of Thor's hammer. I'm trying to hit paste. I did that. Me and mines. Why don't you check your text messages? Because I also sent the link to your phone. Okay, so we're at Wabash Correctional. He's left Westville. He's at Wabash Correctional, and there's a guard there. There is a guard there that, has facial tattoos of Odin. And according to the defense, that these murders were ritualistic, that the murders of these teenage girls were committed by an Odinist white nationalist group. So that not only are there problems seeing their client and he's chained up like Hannibal Lecter, but these attorneys said that Richard Allen told them that he'd had zero recreation in 2 weeks and that he's had 2 showers in 2 weeks. And I'm going to tell you something. Indiana has a supermax prison, and there are inmates that have sued for no recreation. There are inmates who have sued for lack of a shower, right? And every time the inmate loses the lawsuit. The Supreme Court, the state of Indiana, all say that the way that inmates are moved around, and Richard Allen was moved according to his attorneys without their knowledge at one point, that's completely up to the Department of Corrections, that the Department of Corrections is in charge of safety, and that the court is not in a position to tell the Department of Corrections how to keep the facility safe. So the defense attorneys claiming that Allen did not have privacy with his wife. That is one of the things that a detainee gives up in a jail or a prison. And that's privacy. The constitutional right to privacy is to consult with attorneys. And that is important because a lot of guards, a lot of times consider themselves an extension of police, the detectives, the prosecution. So, other than face tattoos, right, of the guard with Odin's spear as the face tattoo, there are other tattoos, according Ed. Okay, legend is here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Give me
Okay.
just a second, okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, before Wabash Prison, Richard Allen was in Westville. How did Richard Allen end up in a penitentiary in the first place? The county sheriff, the county sheriff in Carroll County said, I don't have the staff. I do not have the staff to protect him. And when you move when you move a inmate in a high profile case, that inmate is always isolated. That inmate gets his own guards. When he uses the phone, he gets his own guards. Any type of movement, any type of guarding, he gets his own personal guards. And the sheriff said, I don't have the staff for it in Carroll County. I can't keep him safe. So, and he was tased when he was at Westville. When he was at Westville Penitentiary, he was tased. And according to his defense attorneys, there's, if you've watched Lockup, there's a little opening in the cell. And inmates will put their hands through that opening and they'll cuff the inmate if they're going to bring him out of the cell. And when the inmate goes in the cell, they put their little hands in that opening and then they'll take the cuffs off. And right, so right, this particular guard who has said that he does practice a Nordic religion, though it is not Odinism, right, tased Richard Allen because he said Allen would not comply. That Allen would not he would not remove his hands from that bag. And his attorneys are saying he was of no threat to anybody. So, legend, just off the top, right? He refuses to comply, but he's alone in his cell.
But hold up, I want to get to like, all right. So when you get arrested, you go to the county jail.
Yes.
Okay, so he was initially at the county jail, right?
He was initially in Carroll County, Indiana jail, right?
Not convicted, awaiting trial, right?
Awaiting trial.
Okay, so now he in the penitentiary.
Right. The sheriff said, I can't protect him. And the court calls it a safekeeping order. And it actually went into place with the original judge. And he was moved originally to Westville Correctional, a prison.
Mm-hmm.
His attorneys, he was tased there twice. Guards who practice Odinism, right, or Nordic religion. So he was moved into Wabash Correctional. That's a high security prison.
Yeah, that's a max. That's a level 5 penitentiary.
So the whole penitentiary is maximum.
Yeah, they have level. They got penitentiaries go all the way up to level 5. That's when you behind the wall. Level 4 penitentiaries and minimum. That's minimum and medium. They got gates. They got barbed wire gates and electric gates and stuff like that. Those maximum security penitentiaries, that's when you be behind the wall.
Let me ask you something, right? With no criminal record, having not spent time in jail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be easier to adjust in a county jail, your local, family's
Yeah.
close?
Yeah, that's where you want to be. And you can your visits, the phone don't cost.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, and you know people there. You know what I mean? But
Are you
I don't see like a person getting moved from the county. It can't be the other inmates. Because if the inmates is on your tail, then they'll just put you in protective custody.
well, you know that too, right? Wardens, sheriffs, they don't have to give a lot of explanation.
Not
I
at
can't
all.
keep them safe. In my experience, the court is going to back their decision. That's it.
Yeah, and you know what? If the county prison can't keep you safe, that's due to the guards.
Simon, who is KK? And okay, so you think it was the guards. I think
Yeah.
it could be the sheriff didn't want the responsibility, possibly too,
Of what? So, an inmate getting
of
that?
a high profile inmate.
You gotta get more. It got to be more to it than that to get moved to a maximum security prison.
Well, wait a
Because
minute, right? So first he's moved to Wabash.
uh-huh.
Wabash is not maximum security,
Right, that's a
high
level
security.
3, right?
But
That's a medium, right?
I don't know. It looks like it's a
Yeah, I
regular
think
minimum
Wabash is a
security
medium.
prison.
Yeah, I think that's a medium joint.
Okay, so in your right, the DLC moves you wherever they want to move you once you're in there.
Yeah. Well,
So did you ever come across, right, end up in the state of Indiana for any time?
nah,
Okay, so and you probably never really ran into any cats who had done time, at Wabash, or there's a
nah.
Supermax in Terre Haute.
Yeah, that's the Fed joint though.
Right, that's different. Now, they for money they've offered to take other inmates, but
Yeah,
that's a
the feds
different
will
live
take
story.
you and hold you and hide you.
Okay, right. So now, so I'm shocked that he wasn't sent from Carroll County Jail to a different county jail.
Yeah, right. That's what usually happens. They switch county jails. They switch you
Ru-
to another county jail. I've been now on that tip. Like, yeah, I've been switched from county jail to county jail
In
because
my
even in the
yeah,
county prison, you have maximum security county prisons and you have minimum security county prisons. So,
now
like a guy
yeah.
coming in with a car theft and an auto theft or stuff like that, he's not going to be in the same county prison with the murderers and stuff.
Well, that's what I was about to ask you, right? So what's the difference? What makes a high security prison a high security prison?
The level of the inmate there. It's the level of the inmates. Well, we got the murderers, we got the kidnappers, we got the big drug dealers, we got all them in this level 5 county prison. Then we got the guys like pocketbook snatchers, car thieves. They are in the minimum, domestic violence guys. They be in the minimum county prison. When you first get in the county prison, everybody's together. Then they start separating you according to your crime, and also according to your bail. If you
Wait a
got a
minute,
million
though.
dollar bail, you ain't going to the minimum county jail. You're going to the maximum security county jail.
And see, Joe Delaney, usually we're dealing with convicted people in a penitentiary.
Definitely.
But
Everybody in the penitentiary is already convicted and doing their time.
except Richard Allen.
And that's
Richard
wild to
Allen.
me. I
Richard
wouldn't
Allen.
even want to be, L. I wouldn't even want to be in a maximum penitentiary if I'm not convicted of anything. I wouldn't even want to be awaiting trial in there.
Well, hold on, okay. So this is what's right. This is what's shocking is that Richard Allen, convicted of no crime, he's been moved to, as of December 6, 2023, a high security prison, Wabash
Wow.
Correctional. Right. The listen, special appointed judge,
Special.
Judge Friend, our favorite judge, Judge Friend, says that, listen, Richard Allen is more protected in Wabash Correctional, that he's getting better treatment. So
Mm,
when you say, right now, so what you've explained is high security, he's in there with violent convicted offenders.
absolutely.
Violent.
Very violent.
Okay.
The
So
lifers. He's in
even
there
though
with the
he's accused
lifers.
of a very violent crime, right?
Okay, but he's not
In this
convicted.
system, in
He's
this
not
system,
convicted.
you're innocent until proven guilty.
Facts.
That's the way that it should work. That's the way that I believe. If you're
Right.
going to tell me that my neighbor, that my fellow citizen, human being committed a horrific crime, then I say to the state, prove it. Prove
Right.
it to me. Okay, I want to take a little sidebar. You expressed shock in the chat that Alan says he went 2 weeks, no recreation, 2 showers. Is that shocking?
No,
I
not
didn't
at
think
all.
so.
Not at all.
Right? No privacy with his wife.
Okay.
Not right, not a thing, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing normal about those situations and circumstances.
In a maximum security prison, is it normal that when that inmate is taken out of his or her cell, usually his cell, that he's shackled like Hannibal Lecter? Did you see the movie?
Absolutely. See, but you know what? If you're coming out of your cell and you're got to get shackled, that means you're in a special housing unit. If you in
Even in a
general
maximum security
population, you don't go through that. You don't have to go through that in GP.
and
If
general
you're in special
population.
housing unit, you're shackled in until you get out your cell. Yep.
Okay. So GP, general population, Wabash, a high security prison, still has a general population.
Right.
So everybody at the high security prison, when they're moved around, is not in shackles.
Nah.
Okay.
Just the protective custody and administrative custody.
Now you brought up like one has a wall, one has a gate. Allen's attorneys complained when he was at the first prison,
Mm-hmm.
Westville, all of the gates that they had to go through. Now I'm accustomed to the gates at minimum or medium security prisons, right?
Right.
Okay. What's the difference between the wall and the gate? Does it matter?
Yeah. The gate you can see outside. It's a psychological thing. See the gate, you can come out and see outside. The wall, you don't see nothing but the wall in the sky.
That is, human beings and sunshine is directly connected to mental health. And
Absolutely.
Allen's attorneys says that his mental health has deteriorated, really deteriorated. That he suffered from depression his entire adult life. So
Damn.
he's like, there's no sunshine where he's at.
Nah, not at all.
How you
And
doing,
then again, and then I'm
RNT?
saying, Al, not only if it might not be no sunshine for him, it might not be no outside period for him. If he's in a administrative segregation housing unit or protective custody. Those are two separate housing units. and then along with general population.
You know, okay, the difference, right? Is this psychological, or does this increase depression? I would imagine it would, right? Being 200 and some odd miles from your family, versus 80 miles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The closer you are to home, the better you feel. You feel like if something happened, you can when you way out there, man, you basically alone. You know what I'm saying? They could tell your peoples anything, but when you close home, you can always make a move to get in contact with your folk. You know?
Now,
But
Joe, the confessions, the alleged confessions, because they're being challenged, came after he was arrested, and he was locked up, and his attorneys are fighting those. So I want
okay.
to do the confession separately, because
Yeah,
I wanted Legend, right, to explain why this is important, and I wanted to bring attention to the fact that someone who has not been convicted of a crime, right, is in a high security prison awaiting trial.
never
I've
heard
not
that before.
ever heard of it.
Never heard
Okay,
that before.
I wanted to ask you this really quick. Okay, I know that in the Louisiana State Penitentiary, right,
Yeah,
they've got these suicide walkers, right?
yeah,
And they walk the tiers, and they keep the inmates from suicide, right?
yep.
And this safekeeping order has it, right, with all of these emotions, to have Richard Allen moved, his defense attorneys, right? We're not down with Westville Prison. We're not down with Wabash Valley Correctional. You know, with all of that going on, and right, I read in the motions about these suicide companions he's been assigned.
A
In your
suicide
experience,
companion. Wow.
now they call them tier walkers, right?
Okay.
At the farm, they're called suicide companions, and I think I haven't heard, working any cases in the state of Indiana. I haven't heard of suicide companions, but I
Me
would
either.
think, okay, these suicide companions were inmates who were placed
Mm-hmm.
outside of his cell.
They like trustees.
Okay, they would be trustees.
Yeah.
You never heard of it either, Joe? Okay. So, but they're told to keep a daily log of
Mm.
what he's seeing and doing. It-
Mm.
Now, okay. So a gag order goes in place, and the inmates' suicide companions are switched out for guards. Now they're guards, and there's still this daily log. And Joe, we've got some incriminating statements he allegedly made while these suicide companions were out there. And that's one of the things I'll talk about when I get to that, because these sound like agents of the state, right?
From the rip, this sound like special treatment. Don't nobody
That's
get
what do
that
you
kind of
think about
treatment
it?
in prison. Don't
Huh?
who get and don't nobody get that kind of prison and treatment. I
You
never
mean
seen
suicide
nobody get that.
companions?
Man, I seen people try to commit suicide, and once they go to the hospital, you might not never see them again, or you might see them back in general population walking around like a zombie because they done hit you with that Thorazine. You try to commit suicide in jail, they gonna make you crazy. They gonna hit you with some Thorazine.
Do you think it could possibly be a ruse? He's suicidal, so we can use this excuse, place these inmates outside of his cell, place the guards outside of his cell, right? And see what he says.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a lot for this guy.
Listen, it was a cold case. Richard Allen does not have a criminal record. This entire crime would have been, just an opportune moment where the girls
Mm.
were taken off the bridge. They said, listen, there's traffic there all day, right? And he's had time to approach these two girls, get them off of the
The
bridge,
yeah.
right down by the creek. Apparently, these girls were undressed
Wow.
because,
So,
right,
so you saying that was just an opportunity crime?
What I'm saying is, right, the perfect opportunity presented itself for a
Okay.
predator,
Uh,
right?
mm-hmm.
And now, listen, is it premeditated? That
It,
can be formed
I,
in an
I,
instant. We
yeah,
talked
like
about that.
that's what I'm saying. Like he never frequented that area before. Was he known for being in that area and stuff like that?
I haven't gotten, to all of that, but do so you're not really familiar with a prison caring whether or not an inmate. Now, it could be because he's a high profile
That's
inmate.
what I'm saying. Being as though he high profile, he getting a lot of special treatment.
Has he had what, Joe? He's getting a lot. Well, his attorneys are saying he's being tortured, and the judge says, listen, he's getting good treatment.
Right.
What you think he's getting treated well?
Uh, well, he's getting a lot of being looked after, 24/7 surveillance. Like who wants that? That's not.
Simon, I agree with you. The moment that he pointed a weapon at those girls, even if he didn't have a weapon, he's bigger, right? The bridge guy is bigger, he's bulkier. I believe it was bridge guy because of the Snapchat video, right? So down the hill, I agree with you, Simon. From that moment, it was kidnapping. And I cannot understand how the state could not sustain a kidnapping charge, or why Special Judge Fran Gold dismissed the kidnapping charge as saying that the state had not met its burden. To me,
Wow.
yeah. Joe, the
Wow.
trial has not even happened. Now, this is my last question, okay? So, an inmate, or because he's an inmate for all intents and purposes, he's not convicted, but he's in the penitentiary,
Yeah, he's still if he in the penitentiary, inmate.
right? And you said he's got the wall, not the gate, so no
He got the
sunshine.
wall. Yeah. Plus, I don't know, like I said, if he ain't in general pop, if he don't get that mean, if he ain't in GPAC, he don't get the 3 yards. He don't get to go in the yard in the morning, in the afternoon, at night. He don't get that. He don't get to go to the regular chow hall, the regular gymnasium, the regular library, the regular school building. He don't get to go. He can't even go to the shower without being handcuffed.
But it's 24 hours in the cell for him a lot of times. If
23-1.
right, but on days that he don't get his recreation.
There, I mean, well, that's a choice. You get wrecked, you get shower, you get phone call. You make the choice.
Now, Alan says the guards there have been reluctant to take him to shower and to take him to rec. So
Mm. That's I can believe that.
guards are vindictive.
Hell yeah. I don't feel like going through all that shackling you up and then waiting for you to get out the shower. Man, that's the next shift. Let the next shift deal with them.
Mia Mines has no sympathy for him. She believes he did it. She's like, you know what? It's prison. Conditions aren't good anyway, right?
Nah.
So what I want to ask you lastly is this, because right, they're claiming that his treatment is akin to prison of war, and you're not saying.
That's his treatment is regular, Al.
I was gonna say, because you're not saying you felt like a prisoner of war. You're like, this is what happens.
Yeah, that's just part of that's part of the program. Ain't no prison. Nah.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
Simon has a question. He says, if convicted, is
Convicted.
Richard Allen likely to last long? Will he will he wear uniform back to front? What you mean wear a uniform back to front? You mean is
I
he
don't.
gonna be
Hey,
taking
I
advantage?
don't. If he gets convicted, I don't believe he'll wind up committing suicide. He's a suicide candidate to me. He's gonna wind up either on suicide watch or in heavily medicated off lithium, thorazine, Halidol, and cogentin. That's what they give you in prison. And then I don't know
Oh,
what kind of. It's a big ass needle. They pop you with that, and the next time you see you be picking up cigarette butts off the ground.
see, Joe, I'm from the South, and we would say crazy house. Joe said the crazy house. Simon said, back to front. Oh,
I
is
know
somebody
back to
gonna
front.
own him? Is somebody gonna make him their bitch. You know.
That well, I mean, in today's prisons, you ain't got to make nobody that. There are so many of them already there, and guys like him, they they don't usually use up guys like him. He
I wanted to ask you because the defense is it wrote in its motion, right? Periods of not sleeping for days,
mm,
paranoia, right? You know what I mean?
and
So
being in the cell 23-1 by yourself only intensify all that.
that which is what they're saying, right?
Yeah, that's the truth.
Okay, socially unacceptable behaviors, right? He's so listen. You feel like him being in that high security prison, right? Because he's not even done time. You
Yeah,
saw the pictures that I showed you
yeah.
of his
He looking
physical appearance.
bad.
He looked bad.
Yeah, he looking bad. He ain't gonna make it with no heavy bid. They
You
not.
didn't say that Adelson, you thought he was suicide, right? You said
Yeah,
Adelson had some money to spread around, but Richard Allen, you like, I think he'll try
yeah. He might try to take himself out, or with them knowing that they might put him on the put him on medication. They do that to a lot of guys. Put them on medication. Then they ain't got to worry about them at all. Then all they respond to is medication and child. Them the only times you see them moving.
Well, I know that Bloodsworth, he was wrongfully convicted. He was innocent, but he was wrongfully convicted
Right.
of the sexual assault murder of an adolescent girl. And he said
Man.
the guards tortured him.
Absolutely, they're going to torture him, and they're going to let other inmates torture him. And that, see, certain crimes when you come into jail with, it ain't no getting around that. It ain't nobody can help you because the guards
Yeah,
don't. The guards got children too. People don't be
right.
forgetting that. You know what I'm saying?
So 13 and 14-year-old female victims, right?
Oh man, man, he got to watch out for glass being put in his food.
Well, I hope you're here, for the next live because I do want to
I
talk
got you. I
about.
got you, Al. Just tap me in.
Because you gave your opinion on Cosby and Weinstein, right? And Richard Allen's in a chair and he's drinking toilet water, right? The prosecution says he's putting on. He putting on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, a lot of people do put on, so because they also got uh what they call like mental facilities. The,
Right,
you know what I'm saying? And he might be trying to slide up in one of them joints.
right, right. But then the wall, no sunshine, separated from family, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I agree with you. Simon says, great guest. Legend is my expert panelist today.
yeah. I appreciate y'all listening to me, y'all.
Right.
I got a little bit of more. I got a little bit of in-depth knowledge about the workings of the system.
Right. Listen, well, last question. Is it worse being in maximum security with that wall or being in the hole? Because you said you've been in the hole.
Well, for me, okay. Well, I like it. Does I'd rather be behind the wall in general population. If I gotta be behind the wall, I gotta be in GP. I'm gonna stay out of trouble so I don't get administrative custody, and I definitely ain't going into protective custody. So only thing I would have to avoid is getting in trouble to stay out of the hole. That was my problem, L. I don't mind the wall. I just can't do the hole because I get to see nothing.
The hole is no sunshine either. Ain't no
Oh man, the
sunshine.
hole is the kennel. You go, a dog kennel, an 8x10 box with a cage over it. You go in there and you can walk 10 steps forward, you walk 10 steps backward, or you can run around in a little square circle. You shadow box, do push-ups, and that's it for an hour
I've
by
heard that.
yourself.
I've heard death row described as a kennel.
That's the same way. You are treated the same way as a death row inmate when you are in uh, administrative custody.
So it could be that Richard Allen has not been tortured. It could be he is sick because
He
me
listen,
and my
his mental is messed up right now, and yes, he's never been there. You got to understand, he's not programmed to jail. You got to program the jail. You got to change your whole life to be in the. You got to wrap your mind that you got to be in here.
Right.
And then
I
all
was
the
wrong.
shit going on around you. Oh
I
man,
was
that
wrong.
man
He's
going
not in his
crazy.
40s. He's not in his 40s. He's in his early 50s. And that is still a long time
Oh
to face a
man.
life sentence.
Woo.
That's a heck of a place to grow old.
Woo.
So
Man.
here at L said what, right? You get the benefit of my experience, in law, and you get the benefit of hearing it from the other side. The legend has survived being on the inside, and he don't mind stopping by to tell us what he thinks about the situation. So,
Not at all. Not at all.
okay, thanks for stopping by,
I
legend.
appreciate you, L. No doubt. I'm out.
Right.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Simon. And thank you, me and Mines and Joe. Thank you, Joe. It's awesome. I'll get better at putting your channels in. Joe's channel is awesome. Me and Mine's the plant lady is awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Murph. And thank you, everybody hates R&T. If I missed you, it wasn't on purpose. I'll talk to you all later. Don't forget, hit the like button.